About a year ago, maybe even more than that, I asked the question, would you like to know how much it costs to be a wood turner? Overwhelmingly, everyone wanted to know. So I started researching, how am I going to produce this video? What am I going to talk about? Am I going to show different websites on my computer that sell different tools? How am I going to go about that? I don't narrate my videos after the recording's done. I don't use a microphone and talk over myself, so that kind of presents a problem. I started thinking, well, it's going to be all encompassing. I want to cover everything for everybody. That's just overwhelming. I just couldn't possibly do it. It would take forever. The video would be a week long. I mean, it's not something I'm going to do. So I'm going to title this video My Woodworking Expenses or something along those lines. These are my expenses. They may not be your expenses. We all live somewhere different. Prices are different here and there. A turning tool in New York City probably costs a lot more than it does in Bonnie Lake, Washington. I don't know. Not that I could buy one in Bonnie Lake, Washington. So probably mostly we're going to cover about 2 websites that I use and have used. We're going to use a lot of my recollections. We're going to use a lot of stories about garage sales and yard sales and estate sales. And it's not scripted. This video is not scripted in any sense. I'm already going a lot that I'm going to have to cut out of the video because I don't know what I'm going to say next. But I'm going to be as honest as I can possibly be, and I'm going to tell you what my expenses are to get started and in an ongoing basis, like sandpaper and finishing products, things like that. Remember that I've been at this a long, long time as a woodworker, almost all my life. Probably approaching 60 years as a woodworker. Not quite there yet, but approaching 60 years as a woodworker. So what I've accumulated is over a long period of time, and I've been to thousands of yard sales. I'm a guy that does not like to pay retail price. I'm always looking for a sale. I'm always looking for a good deal. I don't mind buying used. A little scratch on something doesn't bother me at all. I'm looking for something that works, that does the job that I need it to do. We're going to start with the lathe that you're looking at there. As soon as we say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or as we like to say here at Shady Acres Wood Shop, howdy, let's get to it. That's a Jet 1840 EVS, electronic variable speed. The 1840 in the name of the lathe stands for 18-inch diameter, 40 inches long. That's the size of a piece you can turn on that particular lathe. I've gone into this before. I have a review of this particular lathe in a video when I first got it more than 7 years ago now. They sell currently, I think, for around $3,200, $3,300, $3,400, something like that. I got this one for $2,000 at a local Jet dealer that deals in not only brand new tools, but tools that are seconds, factory defects. I don't know if you can see the little label down here in the lower left-hand corner that says warning. Because that was torn on the corner of that label, I got this for $2,000. So I saved about $1,200. Although I think when I bought it, I think they were $29.99, $3,000. So I actually saved $1,000 because of that little corner missing on that label. It doesn't bother me. It works perfectly fine otherwise. I love this lathe very much, but it's not my first lathe. My first lathe was an old Craftsman monotube, that single tube going down there, and it was a 12 by 36 inch lathe with 4 speeds. You had to change the belt for each speed. It would never go slow enough to turn anything that was out of balance. But I had that for 20 years, probably, at least. I used it sparingly. When I first got it, I used it a lot, and after that, I just didn't. I was a woodworker, not a wood turner. So it's sat mostly unused for 19 of those 20 years that I had it. Then I bought a used, what we call a school lathe that came out of a school, a high school, or a junior high, I don't know which. And that was a Delta, also a 12 by 36, but it had a Reeves drive. So it was variable speed. You didn't have to change the belt. All you had to do was move a handle, and it did not have reverse. And I had that lathe for probably 10 years or so, and I used it sparingly. I used it a lot when I first got it, and then I didn't use it after that because I'm a woodworker, not a wood turner. Then I retired. When I retired, spent more time out here in this unheated shop. I noticed I was freezing to death all the time, moving around from machine to machine. What can I do? Well, if I stand in one place and point a heater at me, I can stay warm, so I became a wood turner. That's the reason I'm a wood turner, is because it was cold out here. When people ask me what lathe do I recommend for a new turner, well, for a new turner I recommend a used lathe. Look on Craigslist, look on eBay, look on a Facebook Marketplace, or any place that might sell stuff in general. Look for a wood lathe that way. I always say buy a lathe that's suitable to turn the size pieces you want to turn. The reason a used lathe is a good idea, first of all, you don't know if you're going to like being a wood turner, so why spend all that money? So get a used lathe, save some money, and they often come with many of the accessories that you're going to need to be a wood turner. Tools and chucks, things like that, because you can spend more in tools and chucks than the lathe cost, and you can do that in a hurry. So we're going to talk about the tools that you see over there that I have, and I have more than that. And you see the chuck on my lathe. We'll talk about chuck, and we'll talk about sharpening, and we'll talk about sanding, and we'll talk about finishing, and we're just going to talk about all sorts of stuff. But keep in mind, these are my prices. This is what I pay. This is what I have paid and what I pay nowadays and that sort of thing. As far as the price of used lathes, I search Craigslist, let's say a couple times a week, I guess, looking for lathe. I don't need another lathe. I'm not in the market for another lathe. I just look, I guess, because I'm interested to know what people are selling and how much they're selling it for. Maybe just to pass that information along to you or anyone else that might be interested in what it might cost to buy a used lathe. And in my area, there's not a lot available on a daily basis, maybe 6 or 8 maybe. Place where I got this lathe advertises on a daily basis, but mostly they're new, they're not seconds like this one is, and the prices are pretty much retail. So just check anywhere online for what retail is on a lathe like this, which I think is, like I said, $3,300 or something. But as far as used lathes go, I see that Craftsman lathe I was talking about, probably an average price is $150 for that, and often they come with chisels and maybe a faceplate or two. They don't usually come with a whole lot. Maybe an old Delta like I used to have. I think I paid $500 for that when I bought it at the time, 10 years ago. I think I paid $500 for it, which was probably more than I should have paid, but it was a nice lathe. It was in good condition. Nowadays, probably still the same price, probably around $500. You can buy a smaller lathe. You know, they make lathes clear down to about 8 inches, I think. A common lathe that you might find is a 10-inch Delta or a 10-inch Jet, or a 12-inch Delta or 12-inch Jet. There's a big difference between the prices of those. The 10-inch, you might find a used one for $300 maybe. And a 12-inch a used one would probably be $500 to $800 is what I've seen them for locally. Harbor Freight lathes, you know, if you're going to buy a Harbor Freight lathe, you might as well buy a new one, because the used ones seem to sell for about the same price. The same for other off-brand, inexpensive lathes. And you could buy a brand new Harbor Freight lathe for $200 to $300, depending on the size that you want to get. Maybe more than that for a big one, maybe $500 for a brand new one. Grizzly is a popular brand of inexpensive lathes, but still go used if you can. I just can't possibly cover all the different brands, but one reason to go to an estate sale is those 20 and 30 somethings that are selling grandpa's tools have no idea what it's worth, and you can get a good deal. I feel bad for grandpa, I can tell you that. I don't want to be around for my estate sale, but that's where you're going to get maybe the best buys, is estate sales. So that covers lathes, so let's move on to tools. Almost all of my tools, my high-speed steel tools like these Gouges, these spindle tools down here, scrapers, and this little shorty that I've been using for more than 7 years, it's touched almost every turning I've ever done, are Benjamin's Best brand. All of mine came from Penn State Industries. They are available sparingly from other places, but Penn State has the best selection. And I bought all of these, with the exception of a few replacements. Like I say, this is my original one. This one right here is the one I'm currently using. Exactly the same thing, but longer, because I haven't worn it down from sharpening. And then I have another one of these that I haven't touched yet, still over there in the box as backup. And this is a set of 3 gouges here, 3/8, 1/2 inch, and 5/8. And these are the same gouges back here, but I ground them differently. And then back here and way back there, those are what they call their long and strong, but they don't carry those anymore, so don't bother about those. But basically they're the same gouges. They're just longer. Then I have a few carbide tools. These I bought from Captain Eddie, and I hate them. These are this one, this one, this one, this one. These are easy wood tools. This one, this one, this one, and this one. I think that's the only easy wood tools that I have. All of these scrapers back here, the roughing gouges, 2 roughing gouges, skew chisels. Those are all Benjamin's Best. Even these red-handled ones are Benjamin's Best. I don't think I've ever used them. Scrapers, these square nose scrapers, I hardly ever use them. Parting tools, they're all Benjamin's Best. And the reason is because I did do my research, because I don't like to spend the wrong kind of money. These are all M2 high-speed steel. Well, then you start looking at other brands and you see they're M2 high-speed steel also. Now there's better grades of steel, M42, and there's cryogenically treated, and there's other kinds that cost a lot more. M2 steel is the most common that you'll find, and that's what I'm going to compare to. I'll show you some prices on other brands that are also M2 steel, also the same basic shapes, the same sizes of gouges, the same scrapers, all that stuff, but different brands, same steel, and how much more they cost than these cost. Now I hope this isn't too awkward, and I hope you can see everything okay. This is on the Craft Supplies website, Woodturner's catalog, they call it online. If you had the paper catalog in your hand, it would be Craft Supplies USA. And I chose Robert Sorby. There's a million other brands. They're kind of a middle-of-the-road brand. We go by shaft size. What's the size of this 5/8 inch gouge? Well, it's 5/8 inch. Here, this is 5/8 of an inch. Robert Sorby goes by the size of the flute. They go by that, the flute. Their 1/4 inch is my 3/8, and their 3/8 is my 1/2 inch, and their 1/2 inch is my 5/8. This is a 1/4 inch, or 3/8 for me, $69.95. 3/8 one, $100. A 5/8 one, $115. And those are all M2 steel, the same as my Benjamin's Best. M2 steel. Now we're on the Penn State Industries website. They sell a set of 3 gouges, 1/4, 3/8, and 1/2, or I'm sorry, 3/8, 1/2, and 5/8. Same as the Robert Sorby sizes. This whole set of 3, M2 steel, same steel, $69.95 for all 3 of them. So what was it, $115 for the 5/8 on the Robert Sorby, and $100 for the 1/2 inch. I can't remember what the 1/4 inch was, $69.95 I think. For the price of their 1/4 inch, or our 3/8, instead of just getting that, you get the whole set for $70. And like I said, I've been using this one for more than 7 years, and it's touched nearly everything I've ever turned, and I've sharpened it and sharpened it and sharpened it, and it's M2 steel. Same. Take a look at Benjamin's Best. I'm not going to show all of these. I'm not going to compare all of them, but everyone is impressed by this 1.5 round nose scraper. To buy this from Robert Sorby, I'm not going to go back to it because I've lost internet connection. But I think it was $135 for their 1.5 round nose scraper. Here, you get a set of 4 for $90. This is one of them. And you get 3 more for $90 instead of $135 for one scraper. And they have sales. Penn State Industry has sales. And I'm not necessarily recommending them. I get nothing to tell you for any part of this video. I'm not getting paid for any of this. None of this is an advertisement. I'm just telling you what my expenses are. And actually my expenses were much less because I bought these before I even retired, which is more than 12 years ago now. The prices were less then, and I bought them all on sale. Every single one of them was on sale, and I bought just about every tool they sell just because I wanted to have anything I would ever need, and I probably don't use maybe 50% of what I bought. Now, I didn't prepare for this video, so I haven't polished up my grinder. It's a little dusty. That doesn't mean I don't use it. I use it all the time, but it's dusty in here. I have a video called Shop Secrets and Tour that shows a different grinder, but same wheels, same sharpening system. That other grinder was like a 3rd horsepower, and it just wasn't powerful enough, and I went through 3 of them inside of about 2 years, and so I finally decided to go buy another one. I bought it at the same place I bought the lathe. It was new, but it was discounted. I think this was $300. So once you got all your tools, you're gonna need something to sharpen with. Well, you got $300 here. These are CBN wheels. They don't wear out. They don't wear down. You don't have to dress them. They just last forever. And they were $180 a piece. This is an 80 grit. This is 180 grit. This sharpening system, including this part, which you need to sharpen your gouges, I think is about $170 for. You get the 2 bases, you get the rest, and you get this rest, and this piece here. I also have a skew grinding jig that goes with this that my wife got me. I don't know what she paid for it, but probably $30 or $40, something like that. So all told, in my sharpening system, I have about $800. Now these have come down in price since I bought mine. I bought these quite a few years ago, and there's a lot more manufacturers selling them now, and I think they've dropped down to maybe $100, $125 a piece somewhere. Maybe even less than that for imports or something. I don't know. I'm not telling you these prices to discourage you, because I want to encourage you. If you want to be a turner, you don't have to have all this stuff. It's nice to have. You have to have some way of sharpening, and this for me is super simple. When I say I'm going to go sharpen up, it takes me 1 minute, and that's to walk from over there from the lathe, come over here, put my gouge in this thing, 1 pass across the wheel with my gouge, turn it off and walk back over there. It takes 1 minute. It's perfect. I can't make a mistake. This jig makes it impossible to make a mistake. To me, it's worth it. But there are other ways to sharpen. Belt sanders are a good way to sharpen. A little 1-inch belt sander that I demoed a while ago, something like that. Those work pretty dang good. It's hard to get it perfect with those, but you can come real close, and you can get a very sharp edge with a belt sander. Now, just because we happen to be right here, and this is where I happen to store this, I'll mention this. I've never used it. My friend Valerie picked this up at an estate sale for me. She called me first and said, "Do you want this thing?" And I said, "How much?" And she told me, and I said, "Yes, I do." So maybe one day I'll use it. I haven't used it yet. This is a steady rest. This happens to be the Carter multi-rest. Now, a lot of people build these. Sure, more people build them than buy them. The reason is because of the price. These are expensive. I think these are $480 now. More than $450 anyway. I couldn't imagine paying that much for this. But it's nice. It's heavy. I'm not knocking it. It's a nice piece of equipment. I don't turn a lot of spindle turnings, number one. Number two, I don't turn a lot of long enough vases that I need something like this. Maybe I will one day, and that's why I said yes, I want it. But anyway, Valerie got it at a estate sale for $100. I gave her the $100. She gave me the multi-rest. It'd be insane not to say yes, please. Thank you very much. So thank you very much, Valerie. Also, while we're right here, this is right behind the grinder, right behind the multi-rest. You're gonna need wood. You're gonna be a wood turner. You're gonna need wood. I've been collecting wood all my life. I bought at auctions. I bought at estate sales. I bought at cabinet shops going out of business. You need wood if you're gonna be a wood turner. And there's all kinds of wood here. But that's not even 1/10 of the wood that I have. Like I said, I've been accumulating it for many years. I've got more wood than I could use in 2 lifetimes. This isn't even half. But that was all woodworker wood. What you're looking at now is my preferred type of wood. This is what I like to turn. Firewood. A lot of people would call it firewood. Not to me. A drill press is really handy to have. I couldn't live without mine as a wood turner. As a woodworker as well, but as a wood turner. The far one there, the dark colored one, that's my Craftsman that's more than 50 years old. And that's what I use every time I say I'm gonna go drill a flat spot for my chuck jaws to set against. That's where I go. This other one closer to me It's about the same age. You can see it collects stuff. I don't use it much. The Craftsman, I paid $150 for it more than 50 years ago. Nowadays you'd pay $700, $800 for a new one, but other brands $700, $800, $1,000 for the same size of a drill press. But you don't forget used. Don't forget used. You should be able to buy something like that for maybe $300 now, maybe. My bandsaw's all over there, all covered up, but a bandsaw is, I think, a necessity for a woodworker. Mine costs about $1,100 on sale, typically about $1,500 retail price for my Rikon 10-326 is what it is. I got it on sale at Woodcraft a few years ago for $1,000, but they're about $1,500 now. You should be able to find a good used bandsaw for $500, $600, $700, something like that. But you might get a good deal. You just never know. Watch those estate sales. Watch those yard sales. Don't miss them. And of course, a drill press isn't any good unless you have something to put in it. So you need some drill bits. These are, again, remember, I've collected these for years. These are Hanson drill bits. Very good quality. I think these were probably $30. One this size was probably $30 back in the day. I bet you'd pay $100 for that now. And I've got a few. These are what I usually use to drill my hole for my woodworm screw. A set like that would be new. I don't know. I've had all this stuff for so long it's hard to remember, but new, I'll bet you this would cost $60 new. Now you could buy a cheaper set, probably $30 new. And then when I want to drill the hole from the flat spot for my chuck jaws to set against, I come over here and I grab these. Now this whole set, and I can't remember how many pieces there are, but there's quite a few. I've got them clear up to 3.5 inch. I think this whole set was about $220 when I bought it, probably 20 years ago. I think this 3.5 inch was, just going by memory here, I think it was $35 or $40 for just that one bit. It looks just like this, it's just bigger. And then these, whenever I need to, we'll get to this stuff. Whenever I need to straighten up my tenon, I come over here to this drawer and I grab this piece. This set of tools I bought at a yard sale. They're all high-speed steel. They're decent quality. Like I said, at a yard sale, I think I paid $10 for this whole set. Sometimes, because I'm not a spindle turner, I have other spindle turning tools from Benjamin's Best. But these are, for me, easier and safer to use. So I often use these when I'm doing spindle turning. You can pick those up at a yard sale pretty cheap. And I like to see what I'm doing, so I bought myself a good light. And this puts out some nice bright light. It's easy to use, move around. I can't remember, 100,000 hour lifetime or something like that it's supposed to last. That was $125 on sale. I think they're about $150 regularly. A whole lot of money. Don't think I don't know it, but I can't imagine what I'd do without it. I need this light to be able to see what I'm doing. Now below my lathe I have storage for some of the tools that I use very regularly that you've seen me use many times and have asked about. I built these at different times, that's why they look a little bit different, but they were for different purposes and I just put them under the lathe. This is one thing that I'm always asked about. This is how I check the thickness of the walls and bottom of my bowl. This is a Robert Sorby. As far as I can tell, they don't make this particular model anymore. They do make one that's pretty close, and they make one that's double-ended. Looks more like this end than this end, two of them. Those are, I don't know, $30, something like that. Not terribly expensive, very, very useful. The chucks. I have two chucks, they're identical. They're Supernova 2s. I bought them on eBay from a guy in British Columbia, which is just a couple hundred miles north of me. And I bought a whole bunch. My first one, the one that's on the lathe, I bought years ago. And then I got tired of changing jaws, so I bought another one. So when I say I need to use my larger jaws, I just grab this whole chuck and change it out with the one that has the smaller jaws that I use more normally. And this one here was probably $160. The one that came with all the different jaw sets, I think I paid around $250 for it. And those jaw sets never get used, but I have them. I have lots of them. I just never use them. I just use the two that I have. And then this is where I keep my mask and my face shield. Mask and face shield on. And that's where I keep my CA glue and all that accelerator and that sort of thing. Blocks that I use to remove the tenon. Those are in here, as well as over here on the workbench. I don't know if you could find a used chuck. Probably not, unless it comes with the lathe because the guy died. So expect to pay, depending on the brand. There's a lot of different brands. I can't cover all of them. I don't know. Probably between $100 to $250 for a new chuck. You can spend more than that as well. You can spend $400 easily on a new chuck. But look for the used stuff. I'm just going to touch on this. Something you see me use all the time is the Sandoflex, and we've done a lot of talking lately about Sandoflexes. And I have a few. This is about a third of what I have. They all have different grits in them. I bought them all on eBay over a long period of time. I set up a search on eBay. I'm notified every time somebody puts one up for sale. I look at the price. If it's cheap, I buy it. If it's not, I don't. And I bought most of these back when you could get them for $10 or $15. Now on eBay, these are the metal ones. The new ones are plastic, like that black one down there. A plastic one now is about $45, maybe $50. These metal ones go on eBay for like $80, $90, $150. They think they're collector's items or something. I don't know. Don't buy them on eBay unless you can get it cheap, $20, something like that. The one that I gave away recently, I paid $25 for that one in the box, if you remember that one, that I wanted so bad all those years, and I finally got it and found out, well, you know what, I don't need it, I have all these other ones. And I gave away a few in that little, it wasn't a contest, it was just a deal. I gave away more than I showed you. Anyway, the reason I'm mentioning these, you need them, I need them. Maybe you don't need them. If you deal with bark inclusions, cracks, voids, you need a Sandoflex. So expect to pay for a plastic one $45, $50, something like that. I have mentioned supergrit.com a few times recently, and I think in my last video or the one before that, I can't remember, I said that maybe there's going to be a Shady Acres special. So if you call them or contact them online, supergrit.com, and if you ask for the Shady Acres special, and for that you're going to get the 80 grit that they all come with. They all come with an 80 grit. That's the way they're packaged. And then it's also going to come with 120 grit and 180 grit, which is what I use on the bark. And you're going to get a discount, a small discount. But in addition to that, you're going to get about a $10 free package of sanding supplies. In addition, be sure you mention that. And I get nothing for it. It's not the Phil Anderson special. It's the Shady Acres special. It's just to save you money. They're doing it as a favor to me and my viewers. Take advantage of it or don't. It's not an advertisement. I don't get anything for it. I'm just telling you for your own knowledge. And that's supergrit.com. Now we'll get down to the ongoing everyday expenses, and they are significant. I bought this box and a starter set when I first started being a wood turner, and I think it was $25, and you got one package of 10 discs in a package of each of these grits: 80, 100, 120, 150, 180, 220, 240, 320, and 400. Now you didn't get these. I bought these separate. You didn't get those. You just got this kind. I hardly ever use these. I don't know why I bought them, but I did. So it was about $25. I don't know what it sells for now, but I do know that now they don't come with all of those grits. Now they come with a half a dozen maybe, or 5 or something. And you buy these grits in packages of 10, and they're about 25 cents per disc. So $2.50 or so for a package of 10. For each piece that I do, I typically go through a single 80 grit, and I'm done with it. Depends on the size of the piece I'm doing. You know, a big one, I might end up using more than that. I might use 2 of them or something on a small one, and apparently the last one I did was a small one because I put it back. I take it from here. If I think it's still good, then I lay it up here like this, and I'll use it one more time. So I often use a single disc for 2 different pieces, 2 different bowls, whatever it is I'm turning, but just to save money. And because they're good discs and they last a good long while, I can get 2 pieces, 2 turnings out of 1 disc. In addition to that, I have my drill that I get asked about a lot. This is a Ryobi right angle cordless drill, runs on a battery. This is the older blue model, the new ones are green. I really like the trigger on this one. It's a big old trigger. I can use all my fingers on there. It's comfortable, it works well. I think the trigger on the new one is slightly smaller, but it's still good size and it still works fine. And I love this thing. I love it so much that I have at least 3 more in backup. Again, I buy them on eBay, used. New, they're about $130. Used, you can get them for 25 bucks, something like that. So I have backups for it. I get asked about this part a lot. This is a quick change system. It's hex. This is spring loaded. I can just pull this back, pull that out of there, and change it. I seldom do that. The reason I went with this is because it gives me an extension. This is a 2-inch extension. I also have a 6-inch extension. I wish they made a 3-inch or maybe a 4-inch extension, but they don't. They make 2-inch and 6-inch. The 6-inch is just way too dang long. It's unwieldy. I used it maybe once or twice and gave up on that. That was no good. So what do they cost? Well, they're expensive. They're unreasonably expensive. I don't really know. I think about $9 or $10 for this. The longer one is probably a couple dollars more. This has gotten to be unreasonable. $10 or $12 for this piece. And then this is extra. This soft pad. That's extra. And those have gotten unreasonable. They're about $8 a piece. And that's this piece right here. That's all it is. From here back is 1 piece, like that. And then I add this soft pad on there. And I think I just mentioned in a video I just did that I wouldn't even attempt some of the sanding I do without that soft pad. These hard ones, they're good on something like a perfectly round, smooth salad bowl, but they're not good on much else. Well, I covered those prices. I don't think you're going to find any of this stuff used, so that's where you are with that. This is a 2-inch. I also have 1-inch, and I use these 1-inch after I've removed the tenon and I'm going to sand it. That's what I use these 1-inch for. Craft Supplies quit carrying it, but you can still get it from other manufacturers. I don't know what it costs, $5 or something. You can also use something like this. This is called an inertia sander, and this spins. You hold it at the right angle, and while the piece is spinning, you just hold it up against there, and this will spin as well. And I used that for a long time, and it works really good, and I actually forget that I have it. I just dug it out for this particular video. I need to remember that I have this because sometimes this will do what that drill won't do. It gives me more reach. It's easier to control. I don't think it does as good a job, but it does a good job. I think that was $25. Maybe they're probably $50 now. I don't know. I bought it a long time ago. Then we have finishing supplies. I really only use 2 finishes nowadays. Once in a while I'll use something else, but hardly ever. These are my 2 go-to finishes. Howard Feed and Wax. You used to be able to buy this for about $6.95. Now it's around $10 to $12, but it lasts a long time. It's good stuff. I love it. It's available anywhere you can buy finishes. This stuff used to be $9.95 a quart. This is my sanding sealer. $9.95 a quart. Now it's approaching $30 a quart. The shellac, I didn't bring the can out, but the can of shellac, same brand, same quart size, is right around the same $30, $32, something like that. And it used to be $12.95 or something. Then I use 3M abrasive pads. Couldn't tell you what these cost. I don't really remember. I usually buy like 6 of these and 6 of those. Probably less than $10 for 6 of them, or $12 for 6 of them, something like that. But this is ongoing stuff. You're always spending money for this. Oh, I forgot one other thing. This is the reason I even am doing this video today. This just arrived in the mail. This box of sanding supplies, sanding discs, arrived, and that's what reminded me, oh yeah, I was going to do this. This box, this little box, $75. And I bought it because I need it, and also because they had free shipping. This all came from, as you can see, Craft Supplies, the Woodturner's catalog. And I go through those little soft pads quite a bit. Like I said, they're like $8.95, $9, something like that now. It's insane. But I go through them, so I go through probably 6 of those a year, something like that. These, I buy a box like this, or sometimes a little bigger. I often spend $150 at a time. So this time it was only $75. Last time it was $150. It just depends on what I need at that time. So I guess I'm spending $200 to $250 a year on sanding supplies. These last surprisingly long. This, I've been working on this for probably 2 years, and I have another one down here in the cabinet, a new one ready to go. These I go through probably about 3 quarts of this and 2 quarts of shellac a year. So that's my ongoing expenses. I can't really think of any other ongoing expenses. The occasional 5/8 bowl gouge or something, but that's, you know, that's hardly ever. So I think I've covered the basics. I'm about to run out of battery power here, so I'm going to talk real fast. If you have any questions, go ahead and put them down there in the comments. Anything I missed, I hope I've done a decent job. Again, these are just my expenses. They may not be yours. I live here, you live somewhere else. Things cost more or less wherever. Buy used. Go to auctions. Go to yard sales. Go on eBay. But be careful what you buy. Educate yourself. What does something cost new? And then you'll have a good guide for when you run across it used. And you can get a good used lathe. You're just gonna have to get your cash ready and be on the lookout and jump on it when you see it. That's all. It's a great hobby. I highly recommend it, especially if you're retired like me, and especially if you're standing in one little spot and you're cold. This is a great hobby for that too. Check everybody's firewood pile. Every time you go visit a friend or a neighbor or relative, check their firewood pile. Who knows what's in there? Could be the most exquisite piece of wood you could ever run across. So let me know what you think. Ask me your questions. I hope I covered most of it. So for now, this is Phil, J. Digger's Wood Shop, signing off.